Welcome to the Pitcher Nail Down. I'm Jason Gilbo at JGilbo11, looking at pitching for tonight's 5-game slate. Not a thrilling slate, 5 games as expected. Not really strong pitching. I mean, we do have some notable names here. A lot of pitcher ballparks, which should help a little bit, but some guys in some tough spots as well. So breaking things down, where to go, where to fade. We'll start with this Blue Jays-Braves game, Julio Teheran versus Marcus Stroman. I would see some fireworks last night. I don't feel comfortable with either of these arms, I think, for that regard. Saw the benches cleared twice. Freddie Freeman may have had a significant hand injury, which could play a part into things. You had Pilar, who was, in and out of a scuffle. So for the most part here, there's definitely some bad blood. Marcus Stroman is probably the safer of the two. I would not be surprised to see Teheran maybe run one in here. So I'm kind of staying away, not for that, but just because I'm not a big Teheran guy. You look at him this year, isn't missing a ton of bats. Walk rate's high, 11%. So, with the narrative, he still has not been good. 32% ground ball rate, 9% swinging strike rate. So, given that the walks are up and the strikeouts are down, I'm just kind of off Teheran. This Blue Jays offense it's more pesky than bad right now. It's not a good one, but I'm off of Teheran. I don't mind Stroman on the other side. He's not a big strikeout guy. People will chalk him up as a high upside play. He's not. Elite ground ball rate, 59%. Doesn't walk a ton of guys. His swinging strike rate's among the third lowest on the slate. So, yes, we saw some strikeouts against Seattle, but overall, this is a guy who's not going to go out there and strike out 8-9 guys more times than not. So, with this Braves offense missing Freeman, given that they're middle of the league in about every stat right now, I'm okay with using Stroman as a safe cash game guy. I'll look elsewhere in GPPs at cheaper prices for higher upside, but I don't mind Stroman. I think he's in play tonight, and that's just more because of the slate than anything. Moving on here, though, Kansas City and New York, 2 lefties, Jordan Montgomery versus Danny Duffy. We'll start with Montgomery here first. I like him quite a bit. Third highest strikeout rate on the slate. He's missing a ton of bats, 13.4%. Walks can be an issue at times, 10.2% walk rate. But this guy is going to get better here. We look at his numbers. ERA should be a little bit lower. Left on base, 69%. I do think overall Montgomery can figure it out. He always kind of seems to run into that one inning where it messes him up a little bit, but I like the matchup here against the Royals. Their numbers against lefties have been god-awful. 29th in WOBA, 0.96 ISO, so not really, enamored with any power potential. 20.7% strikeout rate, one of the lower hard contact rates in the league. So I don't mind Montgomery. Great 2-pitcher guy. SP2, I'm fine with him in all formats. I'm even fine with him as a cash game guy on FanDuel as well. If you don't want to go with Stroman, you might have fit some bats in because there is a significant price difference. So I'll definitely be looking his way. Duffy, on the other hand, tough matchup for him. Yankees are solid against lefties. They do carry a 22% strikeout rate. Duffy is missing some bats, but the strikeouts really haven't come. He does have a 12% swinging strike rate, which is second to Montgomery on the slate. Not allowing a ton of hard contact, but overall, it's just not been an appealing Duffy season so far. Not really what we expected coming off of last season. GPP guy at best if you're building multiple lineups, but he's not my first GPP pivot. I like Ryu a little bit more, even though he carries some risk as well. But Duffy, just a tournament guy. Moving on here, Sonny Gray versus Hector Velasquez. Velasquez is cheap. I know he's pitched well in AAA. Doesn't miss enough bats for me to really consider. Sonny Gray, on the other hand, hasn't figured things out. I'm more attacking hitters in this game than I am pitchers. So I think Velasquez and Gray are kind of off the table. Mariners and White Sox. This is probably another one. I mean, Covey is a guy you definitely shouldn't be using. Chicago, I mean, I know they've been bad, but For a cheap price tag here, I don't know if I like either pitcher. I think overall this is another one where I just much rather attack hitters more on the Seattle side. Um, than anything. I think if we're moving on here, Hyunjin Ryu's your best bet in a late slate for a tournament pivot off of Stroman, off of Montgomery, off of Duffy. You look at this Marlins team going on the road here, traveling to the West Coast. Marlins against lefties have not been bad. Ninth in WOBA, 21% strikeout rate. Hard contact rate is pretty average. ISO is pretty average. Bigger ballpark, but they're used to that anyway. Only two bats that I'm really concerned about for Ryu is Ozuna and Stanton. Outside of that, I am not really looking at this lineup with any sort of fear. So given that they have one of the lower totals on the slate, Ryu has shown some upside before. He is missing some bats, which is nice to see. Did come off a good Phillies game, had the core start, which has really inflated his ERA, going 4 innings, a lot of 14 base runners, 5 earned. Other than that, against San Francisco wasn't bad. Against this Colorado team, had a little bit of luck at Cubs. So he's been fine against, some of the weaker opponents outside of LA there, but for the most part, I do think he's due for a little bit of positive regression. As I said, he's missing a lot of bats, 11.5% swing strike rate, 24% strikeout rate. Walks can be an issue at times, but we're dealing with that with a couple of guys here. I do think the home run fly ball rate, 24%, is unsustainable. Left on base, BABIP, all extremely lower high in negative terms. So he should be able to come back down in terms of an ERA. He's due for some positive regression. I think tonight's a slate to kind of bank on him because Ryu's not a guy that I'll be using too often, but on a 5-game slate with these arms, he's a solid GPP pivot at best. So let's wrap things up here. You can head over to dailyfantasycafe.com for all great tools and content.